video, we'll continue associating objects to a diagram. To continue defining the flow, you have to define the conditions to be evaluated for each one of the connectors coming out from the is a customer gateway. You must select the connector that comes out of the is a customer gateway and go to reservation availability. In its condition rule property, click on the three dot symbol and it will open a condition editor where you must define the following: reservation.customer code greater than 0. This condition evaluates if the customer code in the reservation transaction was filled in with some value, and since it is a foreign key, that client value must exist. If this is the case, you can continue with the reservation availability task. Evaluation of conditions. The condition can be defined in three different ways depending on the complexity of the evaluation to be carried out at the gateway. 1. Define a rule for each connector. It's an arithmetic expression which can be defined using attributes of the transactions included in the diagrams, the option we are using, or by evaluating relevant data together with operations. 2. Define a procedure that evaluates all possible paths. In the properties of a gateway, you can see the condition procedure property, where you can associate a procedure which evaluates and decides the path to take. The different connectors will have a value depending on the routes defined for the procedure. 3. Define a procedure for each connector. Instead of choosing the rule option at connector level, there is a procedure type that allows you to define a procedure for every path. The last two cases apply to complex situations, which gives all the power and expressivity of genexes to evaluate the route. A diagram can evaluate the value of an attribute directly. Now you have to configure the other connector that comes out from the is a customer gateway and that goes to the add customer task. In its condition type property, choose the default value as shown. This means that if none of the other connectors that the weighted has are satisfied, then this is the one that will follow. Then you have to associate the corresponding application to the reservation availability task. Web object is equal to the reservation transaction. And in that same dialog, assign the data relevant reservation code as you have done in the reservation task. If the reservation is available, the process ends there. Otherwise, the flow returns to the initial task to change the reservation details. Select the connector that goes from the is available gateway to the reservation task, and in its condition rule property, enter reservation available equal false. This definition is an evaluation, that is to say that if the reservation is not available, it will return to the task that involves modifying the reservation data. On the contrary, the connector that goes from the is available gateway towards the end of the process must have a connect default type. Then go on to configure the add customer task. Web object equal transaction customer, and in the same dialog assign the relevant data customer code. To complete the flow, you must define the assignment of the client to the reservation. So, after inserting the customer, it should be automatically assigned to the reservation. To do this, you must assign the procedure of the same name to the assigned to customer task. Then, configure the following for the assigned to customer task. Procedure equal the assigned to customer object. Relevant data, reservation code and customer code. Then, save changes with Ctrl S. Tip: you can add labels to the connectors for the process to be more descriptive. For instance, select a connector of the is a customer condition, press F2 and enter yes or no depending on the case. Repeat the steps with the is available connectors and the flow will be shown as here. You have associated all the objects to each one of the flow tasks. In the next video, we'll see the execution of the diagram.